Hi, folks. It's Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec. Here today with a short video, which I'm going to simply call 7 Rules for a Successful Pota Operation. Now, as the good weather is coming back here, especially up in Canada, the snow is gone. People are starting to think about activating, and I've noticed actually in the last couple of weekends, some people doing their first one. So that's keen. That's the type of stuff we want to see. Now, any activation that you do is going to require some preparation. And I think these 7 simple steps will help you to have a good activation. And then after that, it's just what are the conditions and how many people do you talk to? So we're going to break it down as follows. Rule number 1, identify your park, find out where it is, find out the times it's open. Do they charge? How crowded are they? Where's the washrooms? All that type of information. Know which park you're going to go to. It's all part of the same thing. If you look at the Pota map, for instance, this is the one near me. As you can see from the picture here, there's quite a few parks up in my area. We have about 50 of them within probably 45 minutes of my house. So the key is to really look at each park, pick out the one you want, maybe take a dry run over, that type of thing. Now you can see all those different parks there. It's just a matter of picking out which one. There are some in there that I've used where I would never go on a weekend. It's just too crowded. There are other ones where it's pretty deserted. What type of access do you have to the park? Some of those are by foot. And there's one actually I was going to do about 2 weeks ago. I looked it up. I thought this is going to be a great one. It's hardly ever being activated. Then I realized why. You have to hike into it. So I tend to go by car, more mobile. So that's the first rule. Find out everything you can about the park. Rule number 2, try and check it out in person. There's lots of times where you look at a park and you can look at the website and everything looks just wonderful. And you figure this is a good one. And you drive to it and all of a sudden it's maybe not so good. It could be location. It could be, who knows, the amount of traffic. It could be the size of the parking lot. I went to one, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. There was probably room for 4 cars. So if I'm planning an activation and I'm going on the weekend, what are the odds that that parking lot's going to be full? So again, always check it out. So rule number 2, check it out in person, especially the access. Rule number 3, always use a checklist. I've done it. I'm sure pretty much everybody who's ever activated more than one park has done it sooner or later. You get sloppy, you don't use a checklist, and you get to the park and you've forgotten something. Use the checklist. And this is the one I use. And you'll see where it's divided into mobile and what I call Picnic Plus. The mobile is just that. That's me in my car, trying to get a quick activation in. So this is the one that I use, and as you can see, I've got it divided into a mobile, into basically a picnic version where I'm setting up the mast and taking over a picnic table. So for the most part, it's going to be the same things, right? Anything in the top is probably going to go with you no matter what. Once I get into sort of the more permanent operation and I'm getting out of the car and working on a picnic bench or something, then there are many more items that I have to remember to bring. And you never know, if I got to the park and there's no picnic benches available and no other where to sit, I may end up back in the car again. So it doesn't help to bring a bit of everything. If I'm setting it up, then I have a whole bunch of different things that I have to remember to bring. And yes, I have gotten to a park and forgot to bring the mast. So, make it easy for yourself. Make sure that you're going to be successful. Rule number 4, check out your logging system. How are you going to log the calls? Are you going to use paper? If you're using paper, do you have a clipboard or something to write on? How many sheets of paper are you going to bring? Is it going to be good enough to record the information? Right? These are all things that matter. Now, this is the one that Pota gives you. And this is the one that I made myself because I find the Pota one, the lines are too close for my eyes anyways. And I bring this with me all the time. If you're using computer logging or an iPad, is it fully charged? Can you access it? Maybe use it as a hotspot if you need to. Just make sure that it works. And do you have a backup if for some reason your iPad or your computer doesn't work? Rule number 5, check the band conditions. What bands are your best choice? Are any of them any good? I mean, look at the weather we've had recently. And, it's great to get out there, but you turn on that radio and the bands are exceptionally noisy. So these are things that you need to know. Now, if you're using phone, and I personally don't use CW yet, I'm still relearning it. But if you use phone, make sure you're in part of the band where the majority of the amateurs are. So as an example, if you're on 40 meters, be at least 7.175 or higher. If you're on phone, 14.225 or higher. That's where the most of the amateurs are. If you're down lower than that, you're not going to get as many contacts. And rule number 7, spot yourself. Remember, I always go with my phone already open to the Pota app. And when I get there, it's basically filled in except for the frequency I'm going to be using. So it's pretty fast setup. But make sure you spot yourself because it will let other people know you're out there. And, if you have a friendly conversation with someone and it's not overly busy, you can always ask them to go and respot you as well. Make yourself visible so others can find you. So there's some simple rules for you. And, others can come up with all sorts of other ones and more technical ones. I just think that's the easy way to start. Right? Keep it simple. Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec, wishing you a successful activation. 73.